Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Emily Martin. I'm NCEDA's Program Manager, and we're excited to have you with us. Before getting started, we'd like to review the logistics of this webinar platform. You'll see on the screen a few important logistics to read through as attendees. To reiterate, all attendees are muted and will stay muted during the presentation. The best viewing option for your screen is called Speaker View, which you'll see as a viewing option at the bottom of your screen. We will have a live Q&A session at the end of the presentation. During that segment and any time during the presentation, you can type your question into the Q&A box. To access this option, click Q&A at the bottom of your screen and then type in your question. These questions will be addressed at the end of the presentation. If we are unable to answer all the questions live, NCEDA will send out a response sheet to all participants afterwards. Please note that we will be answering the questions in the Q&A box, not the chat box. This webinar is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be sent to all registrants to use as a resource. At this time, I'd like to introduce NCEDA board member Ben Teague, who will offer welcoming remarks and introduce our presenters.
Thank you, Emily. I appreciate it, and welcome everybody. This pandemic has certainly changed our industry and has accelerated and disrupted other trends within economic development. But some of the trends that have been accelerated, and you think about telework and how that affects our real estate footprint. You think about reshoring and regional supply chains, and all of these new trends are new to us. But today's webinar, we're going to discuss these trends, and we're going to talk about the technologies that are altering the site selection process. I'm Ben Teague. I serve on the board of NCEDA. I'm also the Vice President of Strategic Development for Biltmore Farms. So I'm particularly excited to welcome everybody to today's webinar, the latest technologies for showcasing properties and communities. But first, let me stop and thank Centerra for their sponsorship of today's webinar. It's particularly important for their sponsorship right now at this time, and so we appreciate your generosity to help make this webinar happen today. Also, I want to take a moment to thank our annual sponsors that are scrolling across your screen right now. We appreciate all that you do for NCEDA. There's no disputing the fact that technology continues to change how we do business. This is true with or without the pandemic. And it applies to how businesses undertake the process of site selection. And there's many different technologies. There's drones, there's virtual reality, and the question becomes, how much does it cost to be able to take advantage of those different technologies? And I know that's a concern in many of your minds. But there's also the flip side of what happens if we don't take advantage of those technologies. What's the price to our communities if we don't pursue those different technologies? So today, we have 4 different experts that are going to be able to help walk us through some of those trends as well as some of those technologies. And I'm going to introduce those to you right now, and I'll read their names and bios, and I'll give you their college mascot as well. So first, we have our moderator, Dan Warwick. He's a 49er, UNC Charlotte 49er, and he's based in Charlotte. He's a senior engineer at Centerra, and he has 15 years of experience consulting with clients throughout the Southeast. He has led a number of successful projects in lots of different industries, and commercial and healthcare and government and education markets. And complementing Dan's experience in construction management, land planning, and geotechnical engineering is his intense spirit of innovation and leadership. Dan's intense spirit. So next we have Aaron Brossois. I believe I have that correct. And he is a banana slug. That's what we'll say. Actually, he's a husky. He lives in the area of banana slugs out there. So he is the founder and CEO of Golden Shovel Agency, a Minnesota company specializing in marketing communications for economic development organizations. And he has worked with hundreds of communities across America to sharpen business attraction, retention, and workforce marketing and other strategies. Welcome, Aaron. Then next we have Keith Gabriel. He is the site manager, a site readiness manager of Duke Energy. His role there involves identifying, assessing, and improving and increasing awareness of industrial sites across Duke Energy's service area. Since 2017, he's been the company's designated drone pilot. I think it's worth pointing out that Keith is a former NCAA Division I basketball star, having played with the VMI Keydets. I think their mascot is a marsupial, a kangaroo. Last but far from least is Beth Land, Vice President of Site Selection Group's office in Greenville, South Carolina. In addition to helping companies choose location, she offers expertise to communities on site readiness, assessment, and development. Prior to helping establish SSG's presence in the Southeast, Beth spent 3 years as a senior consultant at McCallum Sweeney. Among her many credentials is a CECD designation from International Economic Development Council, and she went to Clemson but does not claim them. She claims the Demon Deacons. So we're grateful to each one of our guests for being with us today. Thank you all. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dan.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate the introduction, and want to thank Liz and Lawrence and Emily for help putting all this together. You guys always do a great job and put a lot of work into this. Also, thanks to Beth and Keith and Aaron for joining me today on this panel. I think we've got a lot of good information. Looking forward to the Q&A session. A little bit of add on to the background for me. I've got 15 years experience as a civil engineer throughout North and South Carolina. Work a lot in industrial, work a lot with economic developers, evaluating sites, helping produce product, get sites ready through due diligence, civil engineering, site planning. Some of the things that we see a lot of that's grown over the last few years has been one of the main things is being able to better advertise sites and show whether it's different types of maps, aerial maps or area maps, conceptual site plans, different ways to show the site and advertise the site. So one way that we've seen that kind of expand is putting together site marketing flyers that goes through everything from providing information on these sites, as well as the conceptual site plans, three-dimensional models, cut fill maps, slope analysis maps. So it's a lot of different things that you can put together and compile that into a 2 to 3 to 4 page flyer that helps advertise those properties, whether it's just a greenfield site or if it's a existing building. So another thing that we've seen expand a lot is GIS story maps. GIS story maps are basically the way we like what we call them. They're interactive PowerPoint on steroids. So you can basically take all this information from your county, city, town, whatever it is, and from a quality of life standpoint, workforce, you can put all these different attributes of your area into these story maps, and people can interact with them. It can be placed on your website, and you can work through them to really get a feel for what the whole community is about. And as you get deeper into it, you can dive into existing industries and what type of industries you have in your area. Again, you can dive deeper into workforce. And if you have specific sites that you want to highlight, you can link different things to whether it's, site plans or site flyers or maps or drone videos and things like that. And that leads into drone videos that we've seen that become more and more popular over the last few years. And now you're getting to the point where you're starting to see drone videos with three-dimensional models in them and virtual reality. And then that's where we've got, it's good that we've got Keith on from the drone side and Aaron on today from the virtual reality and 3D side. Real quick, I'll do a quick screen share. Let's see if we can make this work. Okay, it says I can't. Well, anyway, we'll keep moving. But anyway, so I'll move on from here. I'll kind of lead it on to Keith and let him give a little intro to him and what he's seeing on the virtual side.
Dan, thank you so much. Again, my name is Keith Gabriel. I've been with Duke Energy for 5 years now. I run our site readiness program, and as Ben mentioned, My job is to identify, assess, and evaluate sites in the Duke Energy territory. And for Duke Energy, we cover not just North Carolina, but we also cover South Carolina, Florida, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. Just to run over some of our program highlights, we've evaluated, the site readiness program started in 2005. Since that time, we've evaluated 282 sites throughout our 6-state footprint, resulting in over 50 major projects won, 11,000 jobs created, and over $8.2 billion of capital investment. I know we're not here to talk about site readiness, so I'll move on to the drone program. Back in 2017, I met with our team, our unmanned team to talk about, at Duke Energy, to talk about how we can implement drone videos into economic development. They quickly told me that I could become a drone pilot, and next thing you know, 300-page study guide got sent to me, and I became a certified drone pilot. I want to give credit to my boss, Stu Heisman, for being creative and innovative to say, hey, we need to have this program and designate it under economic development because that's the way that the world is going right now. And we see that that is paying off at this moment. So to talk about some of the specifics of the drone program, I use a DJI Inspire 2 with a 16mm camera. And also for the production side, I use Adobe After Effects and Premiere Pro to do the production and get all the overlays concocted into one video. So my job is to go out to a site that have been selected, that we've chosen. Let's say it's 200 acres. I go out there and get about an hour and a half worth of footage, and then bring that information back and try to trim it down to 2.5, 3 minutes of video with overlays and marketing footage to send to Ashlyn Webster, who's our marketing director at Duke Energy. So right now, I'd just like to share one of the sites that I've done. Yeah, I'm running into the same issue, Dan. Cannot share my screen.
Hang on just a second, Keith. Let me
Okay.
get you right here. All right, you should be able to share now.
Sounds good. Let's see. So what I'm about to share is the Blue Clay Business Park located in New Hanover County. Just realized nobody could hear. I know there's no music playing, but what you're seeing is that 2-minute video of the Blue Clay Business Park, just highlighting some of the conceptuals that the county has given me. And the way that we gather this information, I have a drone request form that is able to be filled out by the county or whoever the client is. And it goes through a list of questions just saying, do you want any music? Do you want any conceptual maps, aerial maps? Do you have any of that information? And all the information that you want to put into the video. Also, highlighting those utilities that are served on the site, and just making sure we capture everything that a client wants to see. Give me 1 second. I want to. Liz, can you help me? I'm trying to stop sharing my screen.
Yep, hang on just a second.
Okay. Okay, now we're back. So that going back to that drone request form, we're just highlighting everything that we want to see, the utilities and things like that. And then one thing I wanted to mention as a drone pilot and being on this side to the communities, make sure that you're communicating as much as possible to that drone pilot, because what we get caught up in is trying to gather all the information and put it together. And the more information you can give to that drone pilot and his production team is going to make it that much smoother for to have the quality of video that you want. Also, you want to make sure that whoever the production person is, I've learned this through trial and error myself, make sure that you're capturing make sure that you know the millimeter camera that you're using, because in those production softwares, you want to make sure that millimeter, the 16 millimeter or the 32 millimeter, you want to make sure that that is identical to what you're doing throughout the video. Just to go over some of the prices, the drone videos themselves with the overlays and the footage, I'm getting back that the feedback that I'm getting, they're between $3,500 to $6,000. One thing that's beneficial for Duke Energy and the sites that are in Duke Energy's territory is this program is free to those clients. I'm trying to, the biggest thing for myself right now is that we're getting so many requests, and due to COVID, everything is pushed out. So I know there's a couple of counties that are on this call that are looking to see how can they get on that list, or if they should use another list, or even if they want to go into the drone business themselves. There are a couple of prices for Inspire, a similar drone like the Inspire 2s, and they have a base package, a professional package, a cinematic package. So if you could just go to DJI.com, you can find that information out, or if you want to send me an email, I'll be happy to give you further information on that. But at this point, I'm out of time, and now I would like to turn it over to Aaron Brossois with the Golden Shovel.
Thanks, Keith. Great. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about virtual reality. My name is Aaron Brossois, and our company has been an economic development communications firm. And in the last 2 years, we started pioneering a division of the company called Place VR. What we've been exploring is how to use virtual reality for basically economic development. We do a few different types of virtual tours we've been working on. One is your classic FAM tour, recreated in virtual reality. We also have site tours, and then workforce attraction tours. Those have been the most popular ones we've been working on. The technology, as you can imagine, is moving very, very quickly. And the reason you might want to consider virtual reality while doing these meetings is there's a little magic involved. First of all, the headset right now is about this large. This is an all-inclusive headset. You can put your company's or the community's wraps on them. What's really nice about them is they've come down drastically in price. When we started, we were using PlayStation 4s as the best viable option. They're about $1,000 and they fit into a large carry-on for your to bring to trade shows and the like. Since then, about a year and a half ago, this Oculus Go headset came out, which brought the price down to roughly $150 to $200 a headset, which suddenly makes it really feasible for economic developers of all types to be able to take these and bring them with them on their trips. On one hand, the studies that have been done on spherical VR, and let me explain a little bit about what that is. That is a spherical video. And the way it is, it's like you're standing inside your own personal IMAX theater. You can look all around, you can look behind yourself, and what happens is it literally tricks your brain into thinking that you're visiting a new place. And what happens when you visit a new place is your brain turns on receptors that allow you to take in up to 75% more information than you would otherwise. This is really exciting because as economic developers, we are in the business of selling places. And so we can finally put our product onto a device like this and bring it and share it with people in a way that gives them the best possible way of visiting a place without physically being there. As you can imagine, it's very difficult to try to explain the experience of virtual reality. If I could share my screen, I'm going to show a very short video and try to show you a little bit about how this works. So first of all, we're looking right. I'm trying to give an example of how you might look all the way around, look up, you can look down. You can go directly into facilities where before, might not be safe to go into and visit. We can do things. We've been experimenting with drones. The catch about drones and VR videos is making sure that they don't make people sick. One thing with new construction, you might have noticed, I'm just going to pause this for a second, is the ability to take a field, like a brownfield site, a greenfield site, and show a vision of what it's like. When you combine a engineering model, or any 3D model for that matter, and put it into a spherical video, you get the best of both worlds. You get this feeling of actually being there and experiencing something that's completely virtual. You can see how it's looking around. That building does not exist. Since a lot of communities have multiple seasons, we found is when we're doing like farm tours, for example, we'll come back in another season and try to capture the snow, or try to capture major events that are going on. People have these large festivals. And so this is just a really cool way to give somebody a feeling of what it's like to be in your community and really capture some of the unique things that make virtual reality special. Now, one of the things, since the COVID has started, we recognized early on that this virtual reality technology allows you to have meetings where you don't need to be in person at all. Instead of sending a whole bunch of people over, you might send over a headset itself. Our company has been working on an app over the last year that we're just releasing right now for economic developers that have done spherical videos. And you literally go and sit down at a conference table inside your community. So like right now in this scene, what you'll see over on the right side, I'm going to hit play so it animates a little bit. On the right side, two different economic development consultants. They're waving. We're in Northeast Kentucky, and we're sitting inside the downtown. Now, you can change what that is. You can make it so you're sitting right on your site. You can make it so you're sitting in your conference room, but that's the virtual point. Once we're sitting here talking, we're talking in 3D sound. So it's almost like you're sitting there just having a conversation with somebody. And here's another one. This is in York, Nebraska. I'm showing these consultants this particular property. And we had a 34 industrial park with a engineering model from Olson. We were even able to animate the trains, add some additional trees, and really show that vision. And this video here is the first economic development meeting we had. That was actually Monty Turner over on the left. Looks like the 50s cop. Tom Lambrick from Great River Energy, Brian Hansen from Apex, and they're showing off some of the major employers and what the neighborhoods are like and what the types of businesses that are going to be a good fit for the region. You get this sense of actually being there. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. As we've been progressing down this route, the spherical video certainly has been key. That was the quickest to grasp onto and understand. We started there early. Since then, we've now expanding into some of the other pieces. Like if you have an existing facility, for example, on your property, we can go through with a Matterport camera and make a 3D model of the entire facility. So somebody else, a potential prospect, could put on a headset and walk through every spot that a person could walk through in that facility and turn it into 3D models. And the other big focus, of course, is all on these virtual meetings, not just the technologies we've created ourselves, but as they've been coming out, there's new ones like spatial and VR in meetings that are coming out now that we're able to produce. So really, really exciting technology. We're going to see, ironically, lot of rural communities are the early adopters here. And the reason is because they're the ones that are having the toughest time getting people to come visit. And so this is a real opportunity, even in your own state. Even if you have a prospect that does come visit, you don't have time to get them to all the different sites, or get them, if you're representing a region, you can't get over to all the different areas of your region. This is a way to show some of that off. And one nice thing about virtual reality is it's always sunny in virtual reality. So I'll leave it at that until we get to the questions, and let me pass it back over to Dan.
Beth, you want to do your intro?
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. I am excited to be with you today. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Give me 1 second. I think maybe Emily, you want to? Excited to be with everybody and chat about virtual site visit. It has been quite a whirlwind since COVID started, and we've seen a lot of changes, in our business and our part of the world. And I'm excited to share with that with you today. I'm going to just share my screen real quick so you can see what a goober I am. There I am with my virtual goggles on. Before I get started into the kind of details and what I see changing in virtual site visit technology, I wanted to give a quick background. I'm based in Greenville, South Carolina. I know the majority of the folks on the call from your dedicated and just unwavering support of our project activity and our work. So thank you for being here today, but more importantly, thank you for all the help that you give us supporting our corporate projects. So I'm with Site Selection Group. We're a site selection firm. We help companies choose where to locate. I work primarily just with the manufacturing and industrial division. Site Selection Group has a lot of different divisions that kind of are specialists in different categories. We've got office and headquarter folks, we've got data center folks, we've got folks that kind of specialize on different parts of the site selection process, and I've happened to fall on the manufacturing and industrial side, which is where we're seeing a lot of activity on virtual site visits. So we're actually working a lot of food projects right now. I'll give Laura Lee a little shout out with the state. She has been phenomenal in kind of getting a lot of RFIs together for us recently on some food projects. We dove down. We'd like to say that it was good planning, but it was more like just dumb luck. We had a little streak of food activity in late 2019. We've got 11, we used to have 7, it's going so well right now. We've got 11 people that just go out and do nothing but drum up leads for Site Selection Group. So, the manufacturing and industrial division said, in late 2019 said, hey, let's run with food and let's see what happens. And little did we know that COVID was going to hit. So we've just seen a huge uptick in activity from our food manufacturers. Outside of food manufacturing, it's pretty quiet. We've got other clients that are trying to finish up projects and kind of get them across the goal line. But we're seeing a lot of food projects. And with those food projects, we're a few months into this. From a consulting side, we've done a lot of logistics analysis. We've done a lot of operating cost analysis on different communities for these projects. And now we get to the point where we've canvassed the market. We've got our real estate site options, but we can't go and visit them. So we've done virtual site visits in the past. It hasn't been as critical. Site Selection Group is really passionate about getting boots on the ground. In every single site visit that we do, we normally visit the technical training facility, in addition to the site. So it's really important for us to get to know the players, get to know who our favorite person to meet on site visits is the welding instructor. They always have a unique story. So we're kind of getting used to this new normal, and we've seen some trends. Our virtual site visit's going to be the new reality. I think that's kind of the big question. Like I just said, many projects are kind of turning to those virtual site visits to keep the project moving, and that kind of has a couple of different things that come with it. One, we've got to keep that momentum going in the project, and so it is critically important because a lot of times what we're doing is we've got a list of maybe 15 to 20 sites, and we've got to get that list down. And so virtual site visits are a huge opportunity. And like Aaron said, it's a huge opportunity for rural communities to kind of get on a site visit list that maybe they wouldn't have otherwise gotten because, they're a little bit logistically off the beaten path. So let's say I'm in Atlanta, I'm going to go up, the I-85 corridor up to Virginia. not to pick on, you know, somebody in North Carolina, but let's say I'm taking that route up North Carolina and there is a phenomenal option in Fayetteville. But just logistically, I think not enough folks, you know, think about, you know, if our CEO's only got 2.5 days, we can't get all the way over there. So, you know, we really see this as an opportunity for more of those rural communities to get on the list. And like I just said, you know, it's an opportunity to get on the list, but it's an opportunity to get cut. And that's what you have to try to obviously avoid. So it's really this balance of it's a art, it's a science, it's a combination. It's making what site visits are already hard enough to make it feel like this experience where the butterflies are released and you know, everything happens just as it's supposed to. So it's really an art of kind of balancing, accomplishing those technical requirements, making sure that the HR rep gets their questions answered, that somebody like me who focuses more on the site and infrastructure, that they get all their questions answered, and really kind of conveying a memorable experience. Obviously, there's a lot of new tools. I'm not the expert in the tools. I'm just, you know, one of the bystanders that tries to kind of, you know, get all the information and synthesize it for my clients. There's a lot ranging in cost. Google Pro, you know, or Street View, very cheap options that aren't quite as dynamic, but it is amazing what the human brain picks up when pulling off the interstate and going to an industrial site. You're seeing what does road access look like? You're seeing what does traffic look like? You're seeing where are my truck drivers going to go and get gas and get a burger? Or maybe there's not a place to get a burger. It is amazing what the human brain picks up, not even knowing what it's doing. And so, you know, for all the tools that are out there, just making sure that you're kind of conveying that experience. There is a high-pitched feedback coming on my end. Hold on, let me see if these.
We cannot hear you, Beth. If you might want to unplug your, can you unplug the headphones?
They are unplugged. That's
Now I
strange.
can hear you.
This whole thing? Okay, you can't hear me. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can hear the whole thing?
I can hear you now. We missed a little bit of it. No, we heard most of it until you took out your headphones.
Okay. There were some good tidbits in there. So what was the last thing you heard? You just heard the last 15 seconds or the whole thing?
We heard the whole thing. We missed the last 15 seconds.
Okay. All right, great. So sorry if I'm repeating myself. Thank y'all for letting me know on the technical side. There's always little kinks in the virtual site visits that everybody deals with. So that's a good lesson learned for me. So the last thing I said was just, you know, it's amazing what people can pick up while they're coming off the interstate, whether that's road access, whether it's traffic, whether it's, you know, where my truck driver is going to get a burger, where he's going to get, you know, where he or she's going to get gas. It is amazing what the human brain will pick up that you lose on virtual site visits whenever you're looking at 2D maps that just look down on the property. So, you know, from my perspective, if I've got 8 to 10 site visits that I have to do virtually or maybe more, trying to, you know, it's amazing what my team will get back to the office will say, man, I really like that one site. Which one was that one? Oh, it was the one where we ate at the Zaxby's after. And, you know, then you have this memorable experience. Whenever it's virtual site visits, having a memorable experience is so key and it is so hard to create. But thinking of images, of ways to tour communities, to make it actually feel, and Aaron, I loved some of the technology you were showing to make it feel like I was actually on the ground is phenomenal. It's really cool. And I know that some of them are more expensive than not, but luckily there's, you know, some tools that can kind of help you feel like your boots on the ground that aren't too expensive. Critically important to have a really tight agenda. I am impressed every day with how well economic developers navigate these types of, you know, technical difficulties. We all hopped on the call before this Zoom meeting started. Had a really great kind of run through and made sure that all the kind of technical kinks were worked out. And so it's critically important to do that. I also kind of suggest having, I've done a few virtual site visits where there's one master camera that's looking down at a boardroom. that can be really tough because as people speak, you can't really see who's speaking, and you can't really figure out who's a player. So I highly recommend having a master conference line, then having everybody with a laptop so you can see their faces, see their mouth moving. And it kind of makes a more personal experience when you're able to talk face to face, and it feels a little bit more like you're sitting at the board table with everybody. So just a couple of suggestions there. Again, Aaron and I have already said this, but really unique opportunity for rural communities to make that site visit list, and that's at the end of the day, that's what is important is making it to that next cut. So if you can use virtual site visits as a way to create a memorable experience, critically important. I don't envy economic developers because there's probably a very tight turnaround for having to kind of become an expert in a new technology that you didn't plan on probably 6 months ago. So this is definitely going to be part of the new reality. Is it going to replace real site visits? Absolutely not. But there's going to be a heck of a lot more momentum behind virtual site visits because of COVID than there would have been otherwise. So you'll see this is this picture where I look like a total goober is we're actually with TVA, and we are touring a facility, and some of the technology has gotten so good to where our clients will have facilities designed, we'll plop them down on sites, and then clients will use that technology to go around, tap on machinery and equipment, see where it's coming from, what the lead times are. When it breaks, they can go and look at that virtual technology. So the possibilities are endless. So I think now I'm going to turn it back over to Dan.
Thanks, Beth. Thanks, everybody, for your intros and kind of diving into what you're seeing on the virtual side. We've got a couple base questions that we were going to start off with, and hoping that now's a good time if anybody that's listening in, and thanks everybody for being on and joining us today. Just, if you want to, if you got any questions, feel free to throw those in the Q&A section down at the bottom of the Zoom call. One of the questions that we came up with is, are we seeing virtual sites going to be the new normal in site selection? And Beth, you kind of hit on that some. I think the new normal might be strong, but I think you're going to see it. These things like drone videos and virtual reality, 3D models, and a lot more of these detailed things are going to be some of the requirements in just getting through that site selection funnel. Is that kind of what you're seeing?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said earlier, it's an opportunity to get on the list when maybe you wouldn't have otherwise. It's an opportunity to get cut. So, to be able to do site visits well is critically important. And I think that, as we reach out to some of these communities and, they're having to do it for the first time, it can be scary, but what I really encourage people to do is to lean on, if there's a consultant involved in the project, lean on that consultant. They should be giving you direct, instructions, explanations, who should be involved, how should it flow, what's the agenda. Obviously, I think it's really important for, when there's dialogue and when there's switching and transitions and all that kind of stuff. Like somebody texted me and said that you couldn't see my screen either, so I'm just technically challenged today, but that's okay. It's really important that the communities own being the moderator. Sometimes there can be a lot of awkward silence, and so I think it's really important for communities to own being the moderator, but I really encourage you to, press your consultant that's engaged on the project to be a leader too, and to tell you what they want to accomplish to make sure that, they get that done. I'll stop talking in just a second, let these other experts chime in. The other thing is just managing your project team so that the right folks are on the call at the right time. You don't want to have workforce folks kind of twiddling their thumbs while the site evaluation folks are on. So kind of managing project teams and making it effective is obviously important too. But I'll be quiet now and turn it over to these other folks.
Figure out there and to kind of set up on the drone side. So Keith, what do you see? So from your point of view, how do you know which drone footage to compile, and what are the highlights, and how do you come to that point of figuring out exactly what needs to be highlighted and shown in these videos?
Yeah, Dan, great question. So going back to that drone request form that I mentioned, just making sure that we have the address on there, making sure we have the utilities on there. And just from the perspective of the counties or the client, I mean, they've already had their boots on the ground on that site, hopefully, and they concocted all the information for it. So what, from their eyes and their viewpoint, what do they want to capture the most in this drone video? That's what we want to highlight, because they're the experts on that site. When I'm going to Indiana or Florida, I've never been on those sites. So making sure that that goes back to that communication. Make sure that you're communicating with your drone pilot and the production team to make sure you're getting everything that you want to highlight from the client in that video. And also asking the question, how do I keep the audience engaged in this 2.5 minute to 3 minute video? And another thing is making sure that you're keeping the viewer oriented on the site, because you want to show the characteristics around the site. So how do you do that? Is that keeping the site highlighted through the picture or through the video, and showing how close it is, or how it's adjacent to this road or to this rail or to this highway? Those are things that the communities and the clients need to think about when highlighting drone footage and putting the video together.
Okay. Yeah. So a lot of upfront. To me, what we've seen on that, and you and I have discussed this in detail as we've got in on the drone side of things, that upfront collaboration is absolutely key. Before you go out there, I mean, otherwise you're just going to be going out a lot more times getting a lot more drone footage. If you got to have that collaboration up front, and the post-production team, the drone team, and the client all need to have that discussion up front. Well, Aaron, on your side of things, with virtual reality and the technology advancing the way it has so much over the past few years, and even now, what are you seeing that's coming around the corner that is going to continue to help on the economic development side? And I know you kind of touched on it some in your intro, but what are you seeing moving forward and coming around the corner on the VR side?
Yeah, great question, and it's a lot. The interest in virtual reality has expanded 1,000%. You can imagine we're doing everything we can to keep our fingers on the top of it, and they're really exploring which of these tools are going to be valuable to economic developers and which ones we can pass. We know this is bigger than a trend. I do think there's some hesitation in that, because it's changing so fast, that we should wait. Let's wait and do it later, because there's going to be a new headset next year. There's going to be another one the year after that, and there's going to be new tools available in a month. One nice thing right now, especially with the type of content that we're creating for virtual reality, like spherical videos, for example, they have a long shelf life. They have a longer shelf life than you're initially going to want to update them. So, like, for example, like an average spam tour, you're probably going to be updating that once or twice a year as new things happen. Like a site sells and suddenly you want to put a different site in there, or there's a shift in industry focus. Those videos, right now, even shooting them at 4 or 5K, is going to have you're still going to be able to use it on all the upcoming new technologies. To give you an idea, even on YouTube right now, there's well over 1 million spherical videos available to view. So don't be afraid to start making the content for virtual reality. The technology that's coming out is just going to make it easier to share with each other, which is really cool. Now, our company is based out in Minnesota, but I live out in Santa Cruz, right in Silicon Valley. And I've been part of the Silicon Valley virtual reality meetups, as well as some of the other groups, the Oculus conferences out here, and the things that are coming down the pipe. I've already personally tested a human eye resolution headsets that you can't tell what's real or not. I've seen the avatars that have been shot with 150 cameras that look as real as you do. And I've seen people, like the actual person standing next to their avatar, and you can't tell the difference of which one is which. This is all coming. We've done omnidirectional treadmills and demoed that kind of technology where we'll be able to walk through sites from afar without ever leaving our offices.
Right.
But first and foremost, and I think most excitingly, it's going to be lifelike avatars. That's already coming real quick, and being able to tie in all of these new technologies that are coming out.
Okay. Well, for those that are listening in, please start to throw some questions our way in regards to whether it's from on the virtual side up front, on the beginning side of the site selection funnel, down to the point of virtual site visits. I know one of the things that we've seen, the drone video has picked up a lot over the last few years, and especially since this has been going on. Beth, is that something you're seeing on the site selection side for the initial RFP going out? Are you seeing that being requested by clients saying this is something we want to see, that needs to be part, just like due diligence, basically? Is this something that needs to be included?
Right. Well, first of all, I'll say that site selection group, we try to take like a common sense approach. Like, obviously everyone doesn't have the budget to put together, high tech, drone video. So we certainly don't like require it in order to, if you want to submit a property, it doesn't, we never require it. There are some big firms out there that do. I've, heard through the grapevine that, as part of their RFI process, like one of the you got to have it as a drone video. And I think that is a disservice to our clients to say there are some phenomenal options out there that don't have the budget, having said that, so we don't require it. Having said that, let's say that I'm looking at 30 sites and I've culled through the RFI data. I'm comparing columns against each other. I've got other colleagues working on workforce analytics and all that kind of stuff. And they come to me and they say, Beth, we need to know whether or not this site really meets the criteria. This is it looks great from the workforce and from an operating cost perspective, but we need to know about it from a site perspective. If I have a drone video that I can put up and I can, have some validation that what I see is good, RFI is how it exists today. If you've got a recent drone video and I can say, yeah, the drone video showed that there's no major transmission lines running through the site. I can tell that there's amenities nearby and it's a quick push of a button. It's a lot less work on my end. And anytime there's less work on a consultant's end, I don't know, I'm not pointing any fingers, but it always makes it easier. So it's again, one of those tools that's incredibly nice to have, certainly not required from our firm's perspective, but a lot of people, I think we will see more folks requiring it. What I am seeing is states doubling down and putting a lot of money in drone photography for their Ready Site program. I'm seeing states across the country, really put an emphasis on that and really urging their communities to kind of get their drone photography in place to become part of, 2020.
Right. We did one question from Megan Saller. She asked, I think this was more specifically for Beth, but what's for client feedback, what's more beneficial for them, interactive mapping or drone videos? If videos, is it more help to see 2D or 3D conceptual buildings? So in those videos, like what Keith showed, are you seeing any difference in what your clients are seeing, that when they're looking at those videos and they just see conceptual site plans, or actually seeing some of the new stuff that's coming out now where you're seeing like what Aaron talks about, showing three-dimensional models in these drone videos and things like that?
Yeah, so I think that, from our clients' perspective, most of my clients, unless you've got, like I've had some clients in the past, like, major distribution centers that are churning and burning through these types of projects, and they're establishing a lot of new facilities. Most of my projects are kind of that mid-range manufacturer, that, 40 to 80 million, 200 jobs. They are doing this in a very small part of the life cycle of their company. They don't know what to expect. So they don't, that sweet spot, because I do believe that although the whales are out there, that is the sweet spot of manufacturing. Those, that 40 to 120 million is really where you're going to see most of the investment. Those folks don't really know what to expect. So anything is great. Interactive tools are always a beautiful thing. They're still getting used to the technology as well. So part of the ED's role is not only coming up with the content, it's like helping our clients and me understand how to use it. So those are just, kind of new issues that are popping up. So I wouldn't say that like one is preferred over another. So many communities are wonderful and get engineering firms to do the kind of proactive site design plans, and obviously, 2D and 3D options are incredible for my comfort level. So I can sleep at night knowing, yes, we can put that building on that piece of land with no wetlands mitigation. And the more realistic looking it is, the better. Right.
Yeah, from the standpoint of the drones and the drone videos and implementing 3D models, and this is for Keith and Aaron, both of you guys, how are you seeing that starting to evolve now? Keith, I know you've kind of gotten into a little bit of not only showing conceptual plans, but potentially some 3D models. And Aaron, also, where are you seeing that going with implementing both drones and virtual reality and kind of showing people and 3D models as well, like how all that comes together?
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Aaron. No, go ahead, Aaron. Go ahead, Aaron. Because you deal with more 3D models on your side. Mine are just putting the overlays, using those conceptual maps. Let's say we're working with the county and doing site readiness. So we're going to use an engineering firm such as Centera to get those buildable area maps and those conceptual maps. So when I have that information readily available, I have no issues putting that into a drone video. Now, I think it's helpful because from the human eye, looking at that, you're able to say, hey, and on this 200 or 300 acre land, I can put a building here and move it around here. I find that more beneficial from my line of work than I would a 3D map, because I mean, I'm able to see where everything is laid out. Now, Aaron may tell you something different though.
Yeah, the 3D visualization as they're just, first of all, like once again, combining it with the magic of a spherical video gives you that strange feeling of actually being there. And that's really unique versus looking at it on a screen from an office, so to say. We've been trying a variety of different things. And in a funny way, the 3D models are, if you've ever heard the term mixed reality or augmented reality, that's when you've got your reality, you can put an object in it, make it look like it's there. The technology is actually the same. So what we're doing is taking these, whether it's straight up engineering model of something that's already been designed for that specific spot, or in some case for some of the opportunity zone marketing we've been doing, we've been just dropping on just models that might look nice on the property just to get people's minds going. But we can, we bring them in, when we put the models in, at the same time that we're doing the footage, we put ironically, a 1 meter by 1 meter PVC pipe cube out in the field that we use for scaling the models to make sure that they feel like we're actually there. But I'll tell you what, the experience of like standing on grass and suddenly having a parking lot go underneath your feet is a pretty intense experience for your brain. So yeah, great question though.
Yeah, we've got, Emily, if I can share my screen real quick. So we've, see if I can get this right here. So on the 3-dimensional model side, so using Google Earth and being able to kind of do 3-dimensional models with using conceptual site plans and things like that. This is one we did for a client here in North Carolina for an industrial building. So just to kind of give people an idea of the capabilities of what is out there.
Dan, we're not able to see. Yeah, I mean, share the other, because I think you might have it set up on 2 monitors.
There you go.
How about now?
There it is.
That makes me feel a little better, Dan.
Yeah. Good job, moderator, right? Yeah. So, but again, it's just to give people an idea of what you're able to put together from a 3-dimensional standpoint using conceptual site plans. And again, these are all just a bunch of different tools that you can use to help market your sites, advertise your sites, buildings, whatever it is. And feel free to reach out to any of us on the panel to, be glad to help you with, just ideas of what different tools can be used, what the potential cost of some of this is. I'm sure that you all have consultants that everybody uses, and most of them are capable of doing a lot of these things. Let's see if we've got any other questions that popped up. I'm done sharing. Let's see.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I'll say about our clients in general is they have a vision for their products and for their company. They do not have a vision when it comes to their the prospective properties. So like that visual right there is such a clear it's a clear jump from a wooded area that they probably can't see into. They can't get a sense of topography. I mean, having that type of technology and visual available is a game changer for properties.
Yeah, we've you know, we did this for a site visit last year, and Beth, I think I actually mentioned this to you before that, and there was nothing on this site. It was a lot of trees and things. There was nothing really to look at, but we got invited to go out on the site visit with the economic developer we were working with and the client that was coming to look at it. And they were like, "Is there anything you can do?" So I brought my biggest screen that I had from from the office, and we had a 3-dimensional model that we had done for the site. And I pulled it, you know, had an AC/DC converter on my truck and just plugged it in, plugged the screen in, and had a revolving model. And it was just, but again, that was something they were like, "Oh, that's right there." And they were looking at the screen, and then they would turn around and look at the site, and it just gave them a visual of what that site can look like. So, I mean, that's, again, where Aaron is going with the things that he does is going to take that a whole another step way down the road. So it's like light years ahead of what that was, just to give people an idea of instead of going out to a raw site and seeing it. So,
Yeah.
well, what about 4 minutes and see if anything else had popped up?
I got something I'd like to add, Dan. Just back to when Beth was touching about rural communities, and like, I don't see the virtual reality replacing the in-person site visits. That's not the goal. The goal is to get people to come visit.
Yep.
And so with the virtual reality tools is the second best thing if someone's not actually there. So that's where I think it becomes valuable. Now, rural communities have different budgets. And I wanted just to share on our website at placevr.net, we put together an ebook of 5 case studies on rural communities, or different rural clients that had built FAM tours or site tours. And they did some workforce attraction ones, but you can get some examples that highlights work that was done with the Oregon Trail Electric, York County, Nebraska, Great River Energy and Apex, and then Montgomery County, Ohio. So feel free to go get that. It's free, and it's got a great, talks about the different issues that the different groups had as they were going through, getting their projects approved, and then the benefits they've had of using them. So just wanted to make that available to the membership.
Yeah, so we've got about a couple minutes left. I just wanted to give each of the panelists a quick, 30 seconds, 1 minute kind of final thoughts on virtual reality, and then we'll leave it to Ben to close us up. Beth, if you want to go first.
Sure thing. I mean, I think I'm excited, I'm excited to see where the kind of momentum takes us. It's going to propel us far further than what I ever thought we would be. 6 months ago, from a personal perspective, I feel like I'm going to get to look at a lot more properties and spend a lot less time on planes. I'm glad that my clients will get to see more quality options in rural areas that are kind of those hidden gems, and excited. And if anybody ever has questions, about, how to market your community, our feeder doesn't always run. I'm an open door, so please feel free to reach out, and happy to answer questions about how to navigate COVID, because we're all in this together. So thank y'all for joining today.
Thank you, Beth. Aaron, you want to go next?
Sure. I just share, economic development in general has never really been quick to adapt new technologies. And what we're seeing with COVID is a sudden massive shift to try on these new things and to put them into action and make them useful for us as economic development professionals. And so things are changing fast. It's really exciting. It's like surfing a big wave of technology and staying on the wave and trying to find the stuff that matters to the surfboard of economic development. There is a Santa Cruz reference. So thanks so much, and thanks to the membership and for having me here.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it. Keith, you want to?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm blessed and humbled to be in a position to be on this panel with great people, and not only just sharing my knowledge and what I know, but also learning from other people. I mean, I think it's great that we can collaborate and build and come together. It's really a tough time in the world, but we also know that coming together and bringing each other up is what it's going to take, even in economic development and also in our personal lives. So I want everybody to stay safe, and hopefully this passes soon. And if anybody has any questions, I'm definitely an open book, definitely willing to learn from you guys and seeing what you're seeing on the drone side, seeing how y'all can help me build up my drone program. Like I said, I've only been doing this for 3 years. And so just again, humbled and blessed to be in the situation, and take care of yourselves, and appreciate you all being a part of this webinar.
Thank you, Keith. And yeah, just real quick, I just want to thank again Beth, Aaron, and Keith for jumping on here and working through this with me. And you guys have been great. I really appreciate it. Thanks to NCEDA for the opportunity to do this, and hopefully people got something out of it. Feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions or just want to chat about some ideas and things like that. And from there, I'll leave it to Ben, and he'll get us signed off. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Dan. You did a great job. We're perfectly on time, and thank you, Aaron and Keith and Beth, for your expertise. Great information. I learned a tremendous amount. I really did. Thank you for your sharing your time. I also want to thank Centera for your generosity for this session. It was fantastic, as well as the annual sponsors for your continual support of NCEDA for high quality programs like this one. I do want everybody to remember our virtual membership meeting that is scheduled this next Thursday at 8:30 in the morning, where we're going to hear from Dr. Pat Mitchell, the NCEDA president. We're going to vote on NCEDA's 2021 leadership. We're going to honor the 2020 scholarship recipients and get a legislative update as well. We're going to hear from Lynn Minges, the CEO of the North Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association, and about the new Count on NC initiative, and we'll receive key updates from Commerce and EDPNC. Hope you'll make plans to join us. We've sent out details via email to you, but they're also available via North Carolina's NCEDA's website at www.nceda.org. So until then, stay connected, stay well. Thank you.